Hey guys, welcome back to the latest episode of the Growing a Dental Practice podcast. I am your host, Mike Hennon from Patient Boost. In today's episode, I'm joined by Marcus Macleod, a serial entrepreneur with several dental-focused businesses: Defacto Dentists, InterDental TV, Your Dentist Recommends, Blue Glove Jobs, and Net Zero Dentistry. Welcome to the show, Marcus. Thanks for joining me today. How are you?
There's the introduction. I'm a bit snotty just now, a bit of a cold, but being a real Trojan, getting through it.
Powering through. Honestly, that's probably one of the best starts to a podcast ever. A cough. And I'm just thinking it's probably gone, the noise level's probably spiked and people have just gone, ow. But that's great. At least we have their attention now. So we've got their attention, so that's all good. That's perfect. So, Marcus, to kick us off, tell me about you. What is your background?
Sure. Well, my background is really in IT systems, but I've been in the banking sector for most of my career. Most of my career working with Citigroup and offshoots of Citigroup. So yeah, I about 20 years ago decided to hang up my boots the first time. And there's been several attempts at hanging up my boots. And I gave up the corporate world really to move into something that was much more pleasurable, away from the stress, the hassle. And every dentist will identify with that. Thankfully, I was in a position that I could do that and had a dream, a vision of opening up a small cafe somewhere or a wine bar somewhere with an art gallery attached to it. And I could go and play golf every afternoon. So things don't work out the way you plan. And we ended up with a chain of art gallery wine bars. And I was working 16 hours a day under extreme pressure and stress and the whole thing. So no lessons learned, and decided to sell that out and retire again. So the second attempt at retire was just as bad when my cousin, Dr. Mike Gow, forced me into looking at a solution for dentists. And this is where the whole thing came about.
Yes.
And we talk every morning and every evening before and after clinic. And we always have these amazing ideas that I go away and research and then shoot them down in flames later on the same day. So that process has worked really well for us. And it's seen the birth of our 5 websites.
Perfect. So that explains how you got so involved in dentistry. Because
yes.
I don't think so. I knew about the wine bars, so I knew that was your kind of first step into business ownership. But I don't think I remember you saying. So it was a cousin, yeah? Is it a cousin?
Yes.
So I don't remember you mentioning Mike, and I was like, it now makes sense. Like, because it seems super unnatural that someone that isn't a dentist has so many dental related businesses, but it now makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully it does make a bit more sense now. The good thing about it is that if you've got a customer and you develop a website for them, you do your very best, you cross your fingers that it's going to last forever, and you set it free. I'm in the position that I've got to perform for a family member on a daily basis. So I'm right back into the stress and strain of business ownership with the demands of a family member, basically. So yeah. It's good.
Excellent. I can relate to that because I used to work for my dad.
Right.
So it's probably not this. I don't know. It's probably not the same because you're probably more like equal. Where obviously he's very much there's definitely a hierarchy.
Yeah.
But it has I think mostly positive things from what I learned. But yeah, I'm sure you've got your own. It's obviously gone well because you've had 5 businesses off the back of it.
Absolutely. No, we're both very good learners. We're great listeners, and then we're great at shooting down our own ideas. So we're very, very direct in our thoughts. We always recite Jerry Maguire, "Show me the money," and if there's no money involved, then why do we do it? Flying in the face of that, we have a couple of the websites that are intended not to make money. We just put it out there as not a Trojan horse exactly, but to benefit the profession and to benefit others round about.
Yeah, brilliant. That sounds great. So the two of you have got together, you've shot a lot of ideas out, and you've obviously stumbled on one that you think will work. What came first?
The chicken or the egg? Yeah, first out the traps was Defacto Dentists, and this actually coincided with the launch of another website that we have, not related to the dental profession, Defacto Salons. There's massive crossover between the two. So the people looking for the Hollywood smile, people looking for healthy teeth because they're into the health of their skin, then it's a natural flow in one direction from Defacto Salons to Defacto Dentists. We now have about 27,000 visitors. It's actually gone up a wee bit more every month. So it's very heavy footfall. We monitor very closely what they're doing when they come onto the website. And we know that about 8,000 a month are inquiring for an appointment. Of those 8,000, half of them, is just over 4,000, are looking for an NHS dentist. And we know that of that 4,000, that they are being converted back into private because they can't find an NHS dentist. So we can track the process all the way through, and we can see exactly who's doing what on the website. Yeah,
fantastic. So it's all about connecting patients to practices.
It's very much like our recruitment website, and I've always said we should start up a dating website for dentists, because that's exactly what we have. We're just marrying a potential patient to a clinic, or we're marrying a candidate to someone who's wanting to hire a dental associate. It's just a marriage counsel. That's all we are in that respect. Anyway. So yeah,
I don't think I've
look out for the dating websites.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe like a directory website as a matchmaking service.
It's exactly what it is, and you can't disguise it. We are
fantastic.
Facilitating the introduction to a dental clinic from the patient. That's really what we're doing.
Perfect.
So it has been done in the past, so we weren't first to market with this. But the way that we do the business is very different to our predecessors, who've now fallen by the wayside. They were charging per appointment, and we don't. Maybe we should do. We would be worth a fortune now if we did. But yeah, previous websites have charged per appointment, and our appointment inquiries, appointment requests, they're all free of charge. So we have some clinics that get maybe 60, 70 requests for an appointment every month. So it's happy days for them. We do have a featured function in there, and most of them are referral clinics, because they can then take referrals not just from patients directly, but from other clinics. So we developed a bit of software that can facilitate that.
Fantastic. So it's probably for some people, it's probably an untapped source of inquiries.
No, when we mention it to people who haven't engaged with it, they say, well, why haven't we been told about this? And as if it's our fault for not telling them like 6 years ago that they could be involved in this. It's open to everyone. We have about 8,000 clinics listed on there out of the 14,500 clinics in the UK. So yeah, and we work with a number of the larger groups. So they're all listed, and they're all extremely happy with the throughput that they're getting.
Fantastic. So if I was a practice person listening, how do I get involved in Defacto? How do I get on there? And I'd probably say get in there now before Marcus starts charging per appointment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've just taken a mental note. Start charging 25 per appointment. Given the amount of appointments that we process every month, that would be extremely good business for us. But no, we don't. It's free of charge. If you wanted to be a premium listing, then we call it the Premium Club. It kind of opens up other avenues to you. It touches on all of our websites and offers additional benefit on every website. And as far as Defacto is concerned, you get higher up the listings. So if someone's looking for a clinic in West Midlands, then that clinic would be top of the list, if you like.
Perfect.
So yeah,
great. Great. So that's your, yeah, go ahead, Marcus.
On you go.
I was going to say, so that was your, that's the first website, the first dental Bailey. What led you to then, what was the idea between the next? What was next? Yeah, what was next?
Yeah. Which came next, the chicken or the egg? Well, we thought there would be a natural flow if patients were going on there just to find out their own dentist telephone number, for example, or they wanted to email their own dentist. They can go onto our website. We're found high up in Google rankings for every single clinic. So they would go on there, find the number and phone them. So why not offer the patient additional functionality there, like Shop Now? So we have introduced the e-commerce platform that your dentist recommends, which sits on its own, but it's also linked from Defacto Dentists. So the platform, you would click on the Shop Now button and it takes you straight through to that clinic's affiliate source, if you like, onto your dentist recommends. So if the patient has come from Defacto, lands on your dentist recommends, buys an electric toothbrush, spends £100, then the clinic would receive a commission for that without doing anything. Yeah, so it's
fantastic.
Free money. Yeah.
Perfect. Fantastic. So far you've got two websites that put patients in chairs or give practices a little bit of a kickback for not doing anything. Fantastic.
Pretty much. And your dentist recommends stands on its own, and clinics, the way it works when the patient comes in, they're in the chair, usually with hygienist therapists. They would say to the patient, no, you should be using a water flosser. You should be using this toothpaste. You should be using this electric toothbrush. So they would suggest those products, put them into a basket and send them to the patient. The patient, whilst they're sitting in the chair, receives the email and they can purchase 2 clicks and it's purchased. So
wow.
Instead of holding, the biggest issue we came across in clinics is that stock holding. If they're holding £10,000 worth of electric toothbrushes, water picks, water flossers, you name it, then the gifting of those to a good patient, they're a good patient, they've been with us for 20 years, have a water pick. You've just handed away £80, £90 worth. Now, to put that into perspective, you need to sell another 3 water picks just to break even. Yeah, so that's the gifting. The shrinkage, as one falls off the shelf, lands in the corner, and you can't sell a busted up box. So that has to go back to the supplier or gifted to one of the maybe staff member. There is pilferage, there is theft that goes on. Not saying it's staff or patients, but things that are stolen. And stock shrinkage is what it's referred to. Stock is shrunk through theft. So all of these things, and cash tied up, space tied up, it's just not a viable thing to sell sundries. It's not viable at all for a dental clinic. However, we make it viable. We pay quite a healthy commission to every sale that goes through. Our products on the website are all marked against Amazon, eBay, wherever else. So they're all price competitive. It's not that we charge more, and it's all very clear. Where the profit is, the clinic makes most of the profit. We do the transaction, we do the delivery to the patient's house. So it's
fantastic. That sounds like a win-win-win-win-win, doesn't it?
Yeah, and a couple more ones on top of it.
Yeah, add a few extra in there. That sounds great. Well, no, just all those things that all the downsides of having stock in the practice, just made me think, well, it's a practice, it's not a warehouse.
Exactly.
And especially if there's no way a normal dental practice would ship out products either. So the fact that you take care of that is an additional bonus. How do practices get involved in that? Do they have to register separately, or is it all part of Defacto?
No, they would register under yourdentistrecommends.com, and the registration process is very simple. It takes about 2 minutes to register, and And again, there's two levels. There's one that's free of charge and it attracts that level of commission. You can pay £20 a month or be part of the premium club and you get that much commission. So people usually come on, try it first of all to see how much they're going to be selling. The clinics that are doing really well just now are maybe selling between £3,000–4,000 worth every month. So I mean, they've really grasped it and run with it. And they're earning pretty good money out of that. It's enough to cover the cost of a dental nurse every month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's a cost, whether it's
that's fantastic,
or a dental nurse or whatever. It covers one cost.
That's fantastic. I'm gonna have to take that out of this. I'm gonna have to take that snippet out and put that somewhere because that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So right, so we're now 2 down, 3 to go. What comes next?
Well, we recognise that there's a major issue in the profession regarding recruitment. Now this has flipped really over the past 2 or 3 years. So we wanted to help out there somehow, but didn't quite understand how we can generate interest in a job that's posted. So we use our social media channels and we push out every vacancy that comes onto the website. And we've had pretty good results. I don't think we're the best in the market. I don't think we were the best in the market. I rephrase that. I think now we probably are. We had a major refurb of the website and introduced video interviewing. Now this is really an exceptional piece of software whereby the first interview is the candidate would be posed 4, 5, 6 questions and they would respond offline on video, and that video is then posted up for the clinic to have a look at. So it works incredibly well. It matches, if there's a video up there from the clinic, it matches the candidate need with the clinic want. And that's the bit that's been missing all the way through with every recruitment agency, with every Facebook post. I'm looking for a dental associate. Well, who are you? What kind of clinic is it? What's your specialism? Where do you want to grow the clinic? Therefore, what kind of candidate are you looking for? Are you looking for someone that's a great footballer because you're involved in a local regional? These type of things crop up. So you want to pretty much specify what you're looking for rather than a dental associate. And if you think someone's charming when they come in for the first interview, they'll be put forward to a second interview. If they're charming there, they've got the qualifications, let's give them a bash. Now, with every respect, dentists are not business people. If I did that in the bank, I would be sacked. If I recruited the same way that a dentist recruits, I would be sacked. When we look at some of the larger groups, the dental groups, and the corporates, they have their own HR teams. Now, they have been brought in from outside the profession, and therefore they've got a different angle on approaching how to recruit. But individual clinics are still susceptible to bad hires, and bad hires will cost anywhere between £3,000 and £5,000 a bad hire. A good hire costs the same amount, but you get value, you get return on it. With our website, we charge £120 for posting, and we get the candidates there in front of the recruiter. That will save £3,000 to £5,000 each and every time for 120 quid, and that's what we set. Yeah,
absolutely. That is compared to an agency, that is a significant cost saving. And if it's the fact it's dental focused, the video is a nice element. I've actually done a video interview like years ago. It's a bit of a weird experience.
Yeah. But it's great in terms of whoever your potential employer is. They can then take your video on board and say, I actually like the look of Mike. It makes a lot of sense. I must get a second opinion on this. And they pass it to one of their colleagues. Now, that colleague perhaps wouldn't have been in the first interview. So you've already had 2 people hosting the first interview. that could be passed to a third person or a third colleague. And there you have 3 people being involved in that first interview process. So it absolutely nails it down that you're not going to be offering a second interview to someone who shouldn't be involved in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great way to sort of filter out the wrong candidates. And like you said, it's kind of
really important. Sorry, interrupting. It's really important that candidates can filter out clinics that they don't want to work for. So if clinics have told them what they're all about and where they're investing their money and how they develop staff, if they don't like that, then they can walk away and not apply. So both parties learn more about each other. Therefore, the dating service is more likely to succeed. I don't know why.
It's dating again. Honestly, you just matchmake, the dental matchmaker, and it's not just like except that next you'll be making the dental Tinder, won't you?
Swipe right.
Tinder. I don't know. No, that's great. And another benefit of the video interview is that it saves time, isn't it? You haven't got to try or the aggro trying to get the interview organised for 2 people. It's they do it in their own time and it comes across.
Yes, the time saving and the environmental impact of doing this way, you're saving on the travel to the first interview, a wasted second interview because it wasn't really done properly the first time. So the environmental impact of our recruitment tool is not substantial, but it's there. There is a positive impact.
Now, you mentioning environmental impact is a lovely segue into, I think, your latest venture.
I thought it might be. I just went fishing there, mate. Yeah. Now, this is one of the websites that we'll never, ever make money on. We knew there was an upfront cost, both in financial terms and time. So, yeah, we've made that investment. We've brought in a number of people who volunteered, really. Rather than us bringing them in. We've had a number of volunteers coming up and saying, I want to get involved in this. What can I do? So they've been writing the education modules and they've been offering us guidance on this is the direction we should be going. So in effect, the website is owned by the dental profession and we just manage it, we just facilitate. We've created the platform, everyone else can use it. So we've opened up social media channels and there's now building up interaction on that. But I must be very honest, it's pushing a massive stone up a very steep hill because in terms, until I got involved with it and learned a lot more, my awareness built up. Until I got to that point, that would have been like bottom of my list of things to do. That would have been number 72. Because it's not of interest, and I'll go out that night and have a big fat burger.
Marcus, I've just realised we've hinted. Obviously, we mentioned the website name at the beginning of the chat. We talked about this being an environmental thing. We haven't mentioned it again, so I'm just going to mention to everyone listening. We're talking about Net Zero Dentistry.
Yeah. I
just suddenly thought it's going to make me and you know what's going on.
Yeah. If you know, you know. But
so Marcus is talking about. Yeah, you're talking about net zero dentistry, and it's basically a platform to help dental practices become more environmentally friendly. Obviously, ideally net zero in terms of emissions.
Yeah. netzerodentistry.com. You go on there, and it's never going to cost you money. It's always going to be free. I know that there are some other websites now that are kind of demanding a subscription to get access to kind of thin education modules and whatever. The way we approached it, we wanted to have a logical path. So we wanted to increase awareness. That was one of our primary objectives. And when you start looking into it, what you hear from the outside, the impact of a massive forest fire, of floods in India just now, it's current, the forest fires, California, Turkey just now, current. You understand that what we do on a daily basis is having an effect on the weather, the climate, and we've really got to stop now. If we don't, 10, 20, 30 years down the line, we're going to be in deep poo. We really are. We've really got to start sorting things out now. So
I think you've put that politely. I think deep poo is a polite way of putting it.
yeah, the poo's become an acceptable word in the past couple of days.
Absolutely.
Thanks again, Deborah. Yeah, so we looked at this awareness, and we're trying desperately hard to build up awareness through news stories, blogs, video footage, and we're working very closely with ecology.com, great website for building up your awareness of the issues and the impact that we're having. Then we wanted to take that awareness onto the next step and assess where a clinic is at the moment. Now, it's not that clinic's better than that clinic. There's no measurement whatsoever. You're given a number, a figure. This is what we've calculated through our algorithms. This is your number. You want to reduce that number. If you reduce that number by 10%, 20% over the next 12, 18 months, then you're going to be a better clinic. Not only that, but you'll be saving money on your electricity and gas bills. You'll have happier staff because they'll be involved. The team building element in this is phenomenal. You'll get more patients knocking on your door because you are environmentally friendly. You're making steps towards this brighter future that we want to create. So the assessment is really critical to everything else that happens. From the assessment, we plug all the gaps with education modules. So in their assessment, we would suggest, okay, I didn't know that if I closed the windows at night, then less heat would go out. A simple example. We will talk about heat emissions in the education modules. We'll talk about new solutions that are available in terms of central heating and how that can reduce your cost by smart radiators, they call it. You can use exactly the same system, just have a smart radiator, and it's just a piece of kit that bolts onto the boiler before the radiator, and it reduces heat outage by about 50%. Therefore, bills are reduced by about 50%. So those type of things, it's a learning experience for everyone. Now, we don't know everything. So we've got our team, yeah, they're keen, they're enthusiastic, but they're not gurus. So the matrix really lies out there, where dentists said, well, my experience of such and such is this. We found one dental group that have really embraced the whole environmental issue. And what they've done is that they started out with a massive manual. This is part of your operations manual, and you must adhere to these set of codes of conduct. And everyone just ignored it. There was no uptake on it whatsoever. It failed. And it took them about 9 months to understand that the whole project had failed and why. So they introduced wildflower planting. Find somewhere near the clinic that you can plant some wildflowers. We'll give you the seeds. Just go out and scatter them, either outside the front door of the clinic, in the park opposite the clinic, somewhere. Plant these and then give us feedback that you've done it. So very quickly after that, they introduced the fact that those wildflowers were feeding X number of bees, which was keeping this crop alive, which was keeping this food in circulation, and therefore you've done a major bit towards the environment. They then introduced bees on top of the clinics. I was a bit warped about that. I like bees, a bit phobic about that, but it works. They keep themselves to themselves. They produce honey, and they fertilize all over the place. So it's doing a major positive tick.
So that particular group learned that if you give the team like a small task or a small chore, if you like, and then almost tell them like how impactful that small task is as a group, like that kind of got people to buy in and more excited.
I think it was realization that there is only one way to eat an elephant, and it's one small chunk at a time. And you can't sit down there with an elephant and chips for me, please. One small bite at a time, and that's the only way to progress this movement. Otherwise, the resistance against it is much greater than what we're trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. So because
it's a big problem, isn't it? Like it's a big problem. Like global climate change, global warming is not a one person solves
It's not
issue.
the same.
It's a group effort.
Yeah, no, if you get the Greta Thunberg type characters popping up in the dentistry profession, then they'll be shot down in flames, most definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. So we've kept our heads below the parapet and let the profession build this, rather than us hammering the drum saying, you must do this, you must do that. That won't work. It just will not work. But we also ask, as we go through the education modules, we come out the other side and we can see what savings are made. We've got the calculator in there as well, that we can actually show what savings are being made. And then towards the end, it's really an activity. We want people to do something rather than just paying their way to heaven. We want someone to do something. I can easily just make a contribution, 20 quid a month, 50 quid a month, whatever, and it plants trees through ecology.com. And they've got some wonderful projects that they work on. So it's great. I can do that and carry on eating my burger and stoking up the fire because I'm a bit chilly. No, that's the wrong path to take. I must be aware of what's happening around about me and not necessarily become an advocate. I don't want people to become vegetarian because we've said you must be vegetarian. But one night a week, try a non-meat dish. And we've got some wonderful recipes on the website for non-meat dishes. So one day, we're not even dictating non-meat Monday was the suggestion that came up. But yeah, I might want a bit of haggis or something on a Monday. So no, do it one day a week, any day.
Yeah.
And just enjoy a vegetable-based meal, a non-meat meal. Now that impact, if everyone in the profession did that, would be substantial. It really would be quite big. The reduction of methane would be really quite incredible. If just one day a week, 1/7 of meat consumption went down. So great, let's do that. Let's through the Marine Conservation Society, let's get our sleeves rolled up one day in the year and clean up all the plastic, all the single-use plastic that we're churning out as a profession, whether that's PPE or pegs or whatever you're using, all of the single-use plastic, the cups, let's get rid of them. Yeah, let's go out there into the ocean, the sea, the seaside, the riverbanks that feed the sea, the parklands that feed the riverbanks that feed the sea. Let's break the chain and go out there and start picking up plastic for one day in the year. Now that shows a bit of commitment, personal commitment to do that. But the spin-off is brilliant. The spin-off of that is that, oh man, these dentists, they're not bad people. They're actually quite good. They're out there cleaning up the environment. Well done, dentists. We love dentists. So the PR spin on dentists going out for this one day in the year is massive. Plus, it cleans up the environment. Yeah.
That's again. So there's benefits to the environment, but there's also some of the obvious benefits for the dental practice.
Yeah.
Sort of team building, PR.
Brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, honestly, Marcus, that is. So we've covered 4 so far. The last one, InterDental TV. Tell me about that.
It's,
is that your favourite? Is one of your favourites, or yeah,
they're all my favourites.
I guess you can't have a favourite child, can you?
Exactly. That's a real Bruce Forsyth statement, isn't it? You're my favourite. I say that to InterDental every morning. InterDental TV it's a YouTube channel, and we were deeply involved in magazine production previously. We dropped that about 4 years ago. We were managing Dentaltown UK. Great circulation, dwindling. It was disappearing, and that's magazines for you. We switched it on to e-magazine. We get the same level of readership, but it started to dwindle, and we very quickly realised that this is a dead end we're marching down. So we dropped that and picked up video work rather than the magazine. If I want to learn how to I was looking last night, made a mistake in my car, and I put T-cut on it and forgot about it on a summer night, and it all hardened onto the lacquer. How do I get rid of it? Now, I can go into the library and perhaps look through books and old magazines or whatever, or that could take me days. Or I can go onto Google and it will take seconds. I've gone to YouTube and see there's how someone had this problem and this is how they resolved it. Brilliant. So I've learned a big chunk of information in about 15, 30 seconds. So that's how we want to deliver case studies, not in magazines. So I can read at my leisure. I can actually read, I say that, I can listen to the case study whilst I'm driving, whilst I'm on the train on the way home, whilst I'm sitting there having a coffee at lunchtime. The case studies are anything between 5 and 15 minutes. And it's actually the same photographs that you'd find in a case study in a magazine. And there is video footage, an explanation of this is how what the patient presented and the outcome. So the clinician is explaining the presentation, how the patient presented, and this is how the outcome evolved. And in between, we've got photographic and video coverage of the entire case. So we work very closely with the manufacturers of equipment, of supplies, so that we can show this is the patient found this composite bonding. They found it easier, and not that patients are judges of this. The dentist found it easier to use. It solved the issue that was there. They used this product rather than that product. This is the reason why, and this is the result. And happy, smiling patient. So yeah, our videos, I think the highest views that we've got is about 120,000 for one case study, which, given that it's so niche, is pretty high.
That's very high for such a niche topic. Exactly. That's fantastic.
No,
it's purely so it's purely for dentists in this case, or
the dentists, clinicians, even dental nurses, so they can better understand what the dentist is setting out to achieve. Anyone who wants to move up that hierarchy, up the ladder, they start off as a dental nurse, they move into hygiene, and then they can progress through learning, through our, again, it's the learning modules.
Yeah, learning. So how do you decide which case studies are going to go on the website? So, or on YouTube, do you reach out to people? Do people reach out to you?
Both. So we have clinicians coming to us saying, I've got a great case study, I've got great footage of it, great stills, the build up of the case. Can you work with that? And we take it and we ask for an introduction to the case. So that's live footage. And then the outcome, that's live footage. So yeah, no, we get approached from the clinicians. We get approached by suppliers of product, and the viewing audience remains the same. So again, the win-win-win, 4 or 5 wins, I don't know, but everyone wins out of that.
Yeah, fantastic, Marcus. Fascinating. The fact that you've got five dental sort of businesses, but they're all kind of loosely related, but they're not. But they're all separate. I have to ask, as a business owner, how do you juggle 5 businesses?
It's very difficult. It's not easy. It really isn't. I think if I didn't have the experience that I have, it would fail. It's spinning plates. Every business is. You're spinning plates constantly. And 5 plates is less easy to manage than 3 plates. So there have been times that we've considered, why don't we just drop this? It's not core business. Let's just get rid of it. And then I find myself investing further money in that project and building it out, and it becomes even better. So yeah, spinning 5 plates requires a brilliant team.
I was going to say, team must play it. You can't be doing all of it.
Oh no, I do very little of it. In fact,
don't tell him.
Yeah, no, you've got to have a brilliant team round about you, otherwise it fails. If you have any individual shirking or walking away from a responsibility, then it causes problems. And of course, we're not perfect. We've had bad hires in the past, and you can see one of the plates wobbling a wee bit. You identify it immediately, you find out why, and it's either retraining or maybe moving that person into a different area.
I was going to say, like, yeah, so, you know, it's not quite a dental team, but obviously it is a team. So what have you learned over the years to get the most out of that team, and how to get like the best?
They've got to buy into the project. If they don't, then it's a waste of time. They might be the best programmers. They might be the best interface developers. They might be the best at whatever. But unless they buy into that specific project, and some of them are pretty dull. For a non-dentist to start building up dental case studies, that's pretty dull because there's no understanding. So getting engagement in that requires dental clinical input. So thankfully, the people like Mike Gow and others round about have helped considerably to put those together. So we maintain a very, very high standard. We can't maintain the high standard. We can't be the best. We won't do it. That's the decision we made right early doors. Unless we're the best, we'll not do it. So that some of the ideas that have been shot down, I've thought, no, is the team capable of this? And if there's a question mark over it at all, it goes on the back burner until such time the team can prove that there's capability there. And if that doesn't happen, we just never do it. So there's been a number of amazing projects, AI type projects, virtual conferences. That was 5-6 years ago we were looking at that. We made a prototype, and you can go into a virtual conference, you can visit all the different suppliers on their stands in there. And we built up this amazing product, just a prototype. And then we thought, we're not the best at this. This isn't core expertise. Unless we want to employ a team of 100 people, let's not do it. Because we've just opened this huge big hole with a prototype, and we need to start shoveling cash in there rapidly. So let's not do it. We don't know where it's going. So
if you'd waited a few years, a virtual conference would have been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how quickly that could be switched on, though. Absolutely, So it's a number of really good projects have been put on the back burner because we don't believe that we're the best people at doing it. And in other respects, we've actually passed on projects to others round about us, knowing that they're better at doing something like that than we are. So we've developed a prototype. We'll say to someone who knows that sector really, really well, take that, run with it. It's nothing to do with us. So we can look around the profession just now, and there's probably about 3 different softwares out there that came from us initially, and we just walked away from it. Yeah.
So you guys have had a big impact on the UK dentistry scene.
Yeah, we're the least famous people in the dental profession. I'm sure of it. I remember when I was very young, and I wanted to be a footballer, and I wanted to be a film star. And then I realised that I'd rather be a golfer because they're more anonymous, and I'd rather be the writer who gets all the money and not the actor who's got to fight people off every time they go to Tesco. I'd rather be back room than front room. And I think everyone in our company is pretty much like that. We build the expertise, our own expertise. We develop that constantly, and we impart it, but not by banging drums or flying flags. We just go quietly about our business. Yeah.
Just get on with it, and then the value will get out there anyway. And the more value you provide, the more people will find you and stuff. No, that's fantastic. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for your time today. I've thoroughly enjoyed learning more about all the various businesses, and you provided some great insights into the businesses themselves. You've offered some fantastic quotes. Like, you can't eat an elephant in one go, I think is one of my favourites.
I think that's just me explaining my age. I think I first heard that about 40 years ago.
No, I think it's fantastic. But no, so to kind of wrap things up, so you've had a lot of experience, dealing with dentists and dental professionals. You've probably been to a fair few dental practices. What would be, from your perspective, the number one piece of advice for any associate dentists thinking about buying or starting a dental practice?
Right. I think it goes back to what I was babbling on about before. If we don't have true expertise in something, don't do it. Yeah. If we're not the best in the market at that task, we won't do it. Consider that as an associate moving up into a boss position. Now, that associate has never gone through business school training. They're wide open. They've taken on big borrowings to buy the clinic, reinvest in equipment. There's an awful lot of exposure there. Measuring the risk exposure to potential and making sure that that potential happens is an absolute skill. That's the cusp of businesses failing or winning. I would suggest that every associate moving up into business ownership contacts their accountant and sits down for at least a day with them so that they understand what a balance sheet is, what a profit and loss account is. Understand cash flow perfectly, because that is king. Without cash flow, your business has failed. If you're running at a loss, then that might be okay for a few years. But cash flow, if you run out of cash, you've overspent, you've underperformed. So understand the basic accounting before you go any further. Part of that business training is always marketing. The marketing at university is not unless it's the University of Life, you're not going to learn much. You understand theory, but not practice. Find someone that can help you, someone who genuinely can help you market what you're offering. Set yourself apart from others. Find your own unique selling point, your USP. Find that and put a flag in there and really run with that one, because that's what people are going to come to you for, because you're holding that flag. Yeah.
I love the fact that you're like any practice owner should get a flag, and you're like, not really a fan of flags. So I'm gonna put my flag on the floor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you've got to identify yourself. You've got to be comfortable in what you're doing. If you're stressed, you're passing that stress on potentially to your staff, who then pass it on to a patient who's complaining about something that's so minor that the receptionist really just can't be bothered with it. Now, to bring about a culture, you need to be relaxed in yourself, you need to be relaxed in your business, and then with thought and consideration, this is the culture that I want to live within in my business. That's kind of critical.
That's fantastic. So finally, Marcus, if anyone wants to contact you for any of the businesses, what's the best way, or what's the most direct way that they can reach you?
The most direct way is my phone, and I'm not giving you my number. But
we don't want it. You don't hand it out.
Yeah, my email, Marcus, Marcus, at defacto.email is the best direct email approach. And if that gets lost, or you can't find that, go on to any of the websites. There's a contact there, and if you mention my name, it'll be passed through to me. So we've got contact sheets on every website.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll make sure that your email address and the five links to your websites are in there, and I'll chuck your LinkedIn profile in there as well.
Okay.
I think it's another way to do that. So finally, so Marcus, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I learned a lot. I'm sure the listeners will learn a lot, and I will make sure that you're aware of when we post this, so we can share it to your network.
Great stuff. Look forward to that.
Brilliant. Cheers, Marcus. Bye.